President Trump halts all Ukrainian aid, at least temporarily. Lord willing, this will extend and mark the official end of this con, this scam, this money laundering scheme of U.S. taxpayer dollars to not just Ukraine, but to the various people, entities, and even entire countries that are participating in this theft, because that's really what it is. It's them stealing from us. It's not like, oh my gosh, we need to protect and help save the people of Ukraine. This isn't about that. This never has been about that. The poor Ukrainian people do need support, but not in the form of government aid going to government oligarchs in Ukraine, the most corrupt nation in the Western world. Maybe the most corrupt nation in all of the world. We don't know for sure, but we do know they are definitely corrupt. We do know that our money is being wasted and that it's being distributed. Not just our money, by the way. Also, our aid, our military equipment is being sold off to cartels, according to Tucker Carlson. So, yeah, this has been a really bad deal for the United States of America, and at least on the short term, it's coming to an end, according to an article over at The Right Scoop. It's just being reported by Bloomberg that all military aid to Ukraine has been halted by President Trump after Zelensky's comments today and his comments the other day in the Oval Office. The suspension of aid isn't permanent, but Trump wants to see Zelensky change his tune, especially as it pertains to peace. He said that peace isn't going to come very quickly. Trump disagrees, and this is the result. Here's what they reported, they being Bloomberg. President Donald Trump ordered a pause to all military aid to Ukraine, turning up the heat on Volodymyr Zelensky just days after an Oval Office blow-up with the Ukrainian president left the support of his country's most important ally in doubt. The U.S. is pausing all military aid to Ukraine until Trump determines the country's leaders demonstrate a good faith commitment to peace, according to a senior Defense Department official who asked not to be identified, discussing private deliberations. We got a leaker, but I would say that in this case, the leaker is probably somebody sent by the administration. The official said all U.S. military equipment not currently in Ukraine would be paused, including weapons in transit on aircraft and ships or waiting in transit areas in Poland. Zelensky is really treading on thin ice here and needs to backtrack quickly. This war has gone on for too long, and it's time to move toward peace. He claims he wants peace, but it sounds like it must be on his terms or no peace at all. That's a recipe for disaster. Now, let's be crystal clear about one thing. Well, we'll probably get to other things, and we'll be equally crystal clear, but this one is the important one. Volodymyr Zelensky does not want peace. Volodymyr Zelensky wants perpetual war. Volodymyr Zelensky's handlers want World War III. I guess that was three things. So, but these are statements of fact that you can argue against if you'd like, but you'd be wrong. Okay, the notion that Volodymyr Zelensky wants peace, if he wanted peace, there would already be peace. He has had multiple pathways to peace. As a matter of fact, he even said the other day, was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, when President Trump was talking to Vladimir Putin from Russia, Zelensky came out and he declared that there would be no peace deal unless he's involved. This is the degree of narcissism that this man has. If he were interested in peace, he would accept peace any way that it could come. If he was really caring for his people, the people that elected him, then he would accept any form of peace. He would welcome it graciously. He wouldn't be demanding that his name be attached to it. He wouldn't be declaring that he must be at the center of negotiations or there could be no peace. That is tyrannical. It's oppressive. It's ugly. And before people start saying, well, but he represents the people of Ukraine, does he really? I would argue that he does not represent their interests, has not represented their interests, and will not represent their interests. And they knew this. Let's be clear about something, because a lot of times, especially in legacy media, they'll throw out the statistic that shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine, that Vladimir Zelensky's approval rating was at 90%. They're like, President Trump could never be at 90%. And the people of Ukraine love Zelensky, even though now his approval rating has dropped about 40 points since then. But they ignore that. Oh, but he's still over 50%. He's right there. He's still, he's still about a majority like him. Here's the reality of the people of Ukraine and their opinion of Vladimir Zelensky. Before the invasion, before his approval rating between the election in 2019 and the invasion, his approval rating plummeted. Why? Because the people of Ukraine hated him. And when I say hated him, they realized that they had been conned into electing someone who didn't care about them, who wasn't interested in advancing Ukraine's prosperity, wasn't interested in advancing Ukraine's freedom, and definitely wasn't interested in helping Ukraine to heal, to unify. He wanted the people, the Russian favored, or the people in Ukraine that would prefer to be Russian, okay? He wanted them to be basically subjects. He wouldn't let them leave. He wouldn't let them engage. He didn't even want them to speak Russian. He has oppressed his own people and was oppressing his own people before the invasion. This is why his approval rating dropped down to as low as 25%. And even the very best polls prior to the invasion showed that he was at 37% approval rating. Now, to put that in perspective for us Americans, so that we can understand how bad that is, following Joe Biden's disastrous debate with President Trump, the debate that ended up getting him, his own party to turn against him, okay, to demand that he not run. They all were so horrified to learn what most of us have known since even before his 2020 quote unquote victory, that he is demented. He's losing his mind. He has lost his mental acuity. And even then, after that debate, his approval rating was about 37.5. So Vladimir Zelensky, before the invasion, had made the people of Ukraine so angry that they disliked him more than the American people disliked Joe Biden following the Trump debate. Let's keep that in mind when you hear about how the people of Ukraine love him. You say, well, but how did he jump up to 90%? That's human nature, okay? That's how humans work. We might be opposed to something, but when there's a unifying event, such as an invasion by another country, the people rally around and unify against the common enemy. They might not have liked Zelensky before, but he's the guy that's going to try to stop Vladimir Putin, so they have to like him, even if they don't really like him. But they have to approve of him. They have to rally around him. That's how we work as humans, okay? When there's a common enemy, we might not like the guy that's on our side, but we have to approve of him, at least temporarily. If there were elections tomorrow, and if a viable alternative to Zelensky was offered up, I would say with a 99% certainty that his opponent would win. The reason I say it's 99% and not 100% is because, again, we're talking about Ukraine that is more corrupt than Philadelphia. Okay? It's more corrupt than you take the places in America that have the most voter fraud, the most corruption of officials, places like Chicago, places like Detroit, places like Philadelphia, they don't even come close to the corruption level in Ukraine. So it's definitely possible, a 1% chance, but I would say that it'd be such a landslide that, too big to rig sort of thing, right? I think that he would still lose even in corrupt Ukraine at about a 99% chance. But again, we don't know how far they would go to try to keep Zelensky in power, especially considering that he is a puppet of the globalist elite cabal. Okay, he's their point man. He's their face. He's the one who can help them to achieve their ultimate goal, which is to start World War III against Russia and China, for that matter. So, kudos to President Trump. Kudos to our military. Kudos to the entire Trump administration for putting this aid, this money laundering scheme on hold for now. Will it be permanent? Probably not. There's probably going to be some sort of deal made in the near future that turns on the aid, and that I will be opposed to that. I will be regretful of it, but I'm also realistic about what is most likely to happen. But then again, you never know. President Trump continues to surprise us pretty much every day. Hopefully, Lord willing, he's got a big surprise for us coming soon. He's going to say, we're out of NATO and Ukraine is on their own. And if that happens, praise God for that. I'll feel bad for the people of Ukraine. I'll feel bad for the British and French soldiers that are sent into harm's way. I'll feel bad for the Russians, who many of them whom they don't want to invade. They don't want to participate in this, but they're forced to. There's a lot of bad things happening in Europe. I can be empathetic to that, but my concern is America. And as far as I'm concerned, whatever's happening in Ukraine, whatever's happening in Europe, whatever's happening in Russia, it is not our concern. Thank you for watching that clip. I hope you loved it. 2 things now that you're done watching the clip. Number 1, find all my stuff and be sure to follow me on Rumble, YouTube, whatever, X, Getter, Brighteon, BitChute, those places. Go to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. Number 2, please help support our newest sponsor. You can go to jdrucker.com/infowars, jdrucker.com/infowars, and shop the Alex Jones store. Help to keep an important piece of the media alive and well. jdrucker.com/infowars.